So it's already the holiday season and Netflix has some amazing movies to check out. I mean, The Harder They Fall is a good one, but one that really struck me and really just entertained me was the movie Passing. It is such a great, I don't know, I wouldn't like necessarily call it a great movie, but I would call it a necessary story to hear. It's an interesting window into the life of this character Claire Kendry, who's played by Ruth Nega. Ruth Nega, I think she's an Ethiopian in real life, and of course Tessa Thompson playing the role of Irene Redfield. Such an interesting perspective. Now, here are my thoughts on this movie. The name is so fitting. The name Passing is so fitting because that is exactly what Claire was doing throughout the movie.
You dislike Negroes, Mr. Bellew?
No, not at all. I hate them.
She was passing, like literally passing is a term that defines an African American person that tried to pass off as white during the segregation eras, during, black independence, pretty much. But basically when it was just harder for people to be black in America, people who were mixed and were able to be perceived as white started passing as white, and they would marry into white. They would marry white people and never show their families to their spouse and their spouse's family. And this way they were able to get rid of their black genes in their children, etc. Obviously it was illegal. Interracial dating and marriage was illegal back then. But I think the bigger issue is that a lot of people would marry racists and and hide their identity. And when you think about how damaging that must be to somebody to live a lie every day of their life, to live a lie, you can just start to imagine the kind of pain that these people were going through, having this identity crisis. Now, the movie really follows, the character Irene, played by Tessa Thompson, she sort of runs into this girl, Claire, and she's quite familiar. Actually, they grew up in the same part of town together when they were younger. But I guess Claire sort of left and now is married to a white man. And so what makes the story so interesting is the stark contrast between the two of their lives, but yet the similarities between them. So on one perspective, they are completely different. One of them, Tessa Thompson's character, is living in her truth. She's black and she's actually quite wealthy, especially for a black person in those times. It's based in the 20s. Black, she's quite wealthy. She's living, in Harlem, New York City, but she has a really nice apartment. She has a house, maid/cook in the house. I mean, she's living a pretty good, affluent life for a black person in the 1920s, and by a lot of standards for most people. I mean, today an apartment in Harlem like that would cost an arm and a leg, but her husband's a doctor. She's living an affluent life. Now, Claire, on the other hand, is married to a white man, and it appears that he's affluent as well. They haven't been specific about how he makes his money. Don't really remember those details, but she's living the exact opposite life. She is just dying inside. And I believe she ran off to Chicago. That's where she met her husband. And then she's come back to New York City. And now she's sort of desperate to reconnect with black people. There's this concept in the movie is that they ran away from their blackness only for them to come back, to just be in touch, to just savor those moments. And Claire had reached a stage. She already had a child. She's reached a stage now that she was just so desperate to reconnect. Now, what are some of the interesting things about her character? I think the title Passing is very, very fitting because not only was she passing off as a white person, But she was also, in a way, passing through life, right? She was just passing through life. In this movie, we saw her sort of like live a very blase but painful life. Okay, let me put it this way. Internally, she was living through a lot of pain, but externally, she seemed very blase, very much like, whew, let me go with the flow. Her character, the way she socializes, the way she moves around the room, the way she engages people, she's just passing through life. And she's one of those charismatic people that everyone just likes. She's pretty. She's light skinned in those days, and even today, there's colorism. And so people just seem to enjoy her company. But what makes it so interesting, and this is a spoiler, is that, sorry, spoiler, maybe like if you don't want to hear the spoiler, like go a few seconds ahead. I'll put the time code that you should continue starting now. The name Passing, the title Passing, is interesting because she passed at the end of the movie. So it literally was about her passing through life. Her life's purpose, maybe her life's existence was about passing. And we watched her pass off as white. We watched her pass through people and meet people, pass, so always being accepted wherever she went. We just watched her pass, get in, and then we watched her pass away. So symbolic, so poetic, and so interesting. Other elements of the movie that I really enjoyed was the fact that it was shot in black and white. That added an interesting dynamic. Personally, I think it would be quite obvious to me that this character was darker skinned. I think in this day and age, and social media, we're so exposed to different looks and different faces and all of that stuff. So an exotic face to us isn't as exotic as it would have been to people in the 1920s, right? So I imagine it would have been easier to pass back in those days. But the thing about it is, the reason why I think it was black and white was to create some ambiguity. And also to help with the storytelling, because if there was like they almost asked Tessa Thompson if she considered passing, and I mean, she's very, very light skinned, but I don't think that she could pass for a white person. But maybe in the 1920s she could have. She does have silky hair, but I don't know. I don't think she could have, but but because the movie was in black and white, it was actually believable for her to have been able to pass as a white person. But anyway, great movie by Netflix. Something definitely to watch. It's one of those indies that is like more poetic than anything, not too dramatic, very interesting characters, very relatable storytelling, and that's really what captures the essence of the time. So I mean, those are the aspects of the movie that I really enjoyed, and that's why I really thought it was such a necessary story and such a different one to watch at the same time. But definitely go check it out. It's called Passing. It's on Netflix. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim, and see you next time. Peace. I have to tell you about my live webinar. Deadline to sign up for that is this Monday, November 29th. You got to sign up, and it's about monetizing in the metaverse. I'm going to go in depth. I'm going to go in details about how to monetize, how to start making money now in the metaverse. And no, we're not only just going to be talking about NFTs and the basic stuff. We're really going to be tapping into your brain to really dig deep and think about ways that you can create wealth in the metaverse and enter the digital gold rush now. Because, hey, let me tell you something. It's not about being the best. Right now is about getting there first. And if you can get there first, you can create a lot of opportunities for yourself. Think about it this way. Think about Bitcoin. Imagine if you purchased Bitcoin when it was created in 2012 or 2013. You were first. And right now, you'd probably, imagine if you bought one Bitcoin, you would have $50,000. Imagine if you bought more than one Bitcoin, which is like pennies then. Anyway, I digressed. Guys, sign up today. I'm doing a Black Friday special, and the deadline to sign up is this Monday, November 29th. Deadline to sign up. And this is a live webinar. There's not going to be any replays. There's not going to be any way to rewatch it. So if you miss it, you miss it.